So the quarterback carousel happens every offseason in the NFL, and in today's video, we're just going to be going over who I think is going to be the quarterback for every single NFL team next season. And I know the wild card round is still going on, or I don't know when this video is coming out. Sometime, maybe Monday, Sunday, Tuesday. I don't know when it's coming out, but it's going to be soon after or during the wild card round. So some stuff might be out of date when I'm recording this right now. It's right after the Patriots lost to the Bills. So I haven't seen the Buccaneers-Eagles game yet. I don't know what happened in the Cowboys-Niners game or the Steelers-Chiefs game. So just putting that out there, but we are going to go through every single NFL team. Going to be looking at whose job is safe, who's on the edge of losing their job, or who is just no matter what leaving town this offseason. So we're going to go through all of them real quick. And folks, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you want to see more content like this here on the channel. So these group of guys we're really not going to focus too much on just because I feel like all these guys' jobs are safe no matter what. Probably the one exception, this one I would say, is Derek Carr, but I really think Carr is going to get the job next season for Vegas. And I guess the other one is, of course, in Jalen Hurts. But other than that, we're not going to really have to talk about these guys much. Like Joe Burrow's not leaving Cincinnati. Josh Allen's staying in Buffalo. Zach Wilson's going to be the guy for the Jets. Brady's in Tampa unless he retires, which I highly doubt. Mahomes, Herbert, Jackson, Stafford, Jones, Lawrence, Prescott, Fields, Hurts, Carr, Tannehill, Murray, all these guys I think are going to be staying with their teams next season, barring some, blockbuster trade. These are going to be the guys for these specific teams. So now we've got the question marks. I'm going to go through all these, different team situations when we get to each individual squad, but we've got Kirk Cousins with the Vikings. We'll see. Davis Mills looks to be the guy in Houston, but could still be on the edge of losing his job. Tua, who knows, with Flores leaving town. Baker, all the question marks surrounding him. Russell Wilson looks like he's probably going to stay in Seattle, but you just don't know. Same can be said about Rodgers, but if Green Bay, for example, loses in the divisional round, which again, I highly doubt is going to happen, then I would think would be on this list. Matt Ryan getting up there in age. We'll see if Atlanta goes somewhere else next season. Carson Wentz, the only reason he's on here is because of his last two games. He looked horrible in the Jacksonville game, and maybe Indianapolis wants to go a different direction. Jared Goff, I think, is probably going to stay in Detroit next season. And then Daniel Jones, who looks like should be able to stay, but I don't know. The Giants said they were going to keep Joe Judge at one point in time. So who knows? These are the question marks. This is the second level of quarterbacks in the NFL. And probably the most interesting category, we've got the unknowns. I didn't put the Saints quarterbacks on here, of course, in Taysom Hill and Trevor Siemian, just because I don't think either of those guys are going to be starting in the NFL next season. And I don't think, maybe Siemian will go somewhere else, but I don't think, either Hill or Siemian will be the starter in New Orleans. But we've got Mitchell Trubisky. I threw, some backups in here just because Trubisky, a high-level backup in the NFL, backing up Josh Allen this year. You got Sam Darnold, you got Teddy Bridgewater, you got the 49ers situation with Trey Lance and with Jimmy Garoppolo, who's the starter next year, who's not, I don't know. Deshaun Watson, the biggest question mark and biggest unknown out of all these guys. We're assuming he will be a starting quarterback next season in the NFL. Where will that be? I don't know. It's looking like it's not going to be Miami anymore because Flores was the only guy from the Dolphins organization that wanted Deshaun Watson. You got Taylor Heineke, who had an unlikely rise to be the starting quarterback for the Washington football team this season. Will he get a starting job next year? Who knows? Same can be said about Gardner Minshew. Minshew was the guy in Jacksonville before they, tanked for Trevor Lawrence, sat Minshew, started Jake Luton and Mike Glennon that entire season. But will Minshew get a starting job next year? I don't know. And then Ryan Fitzpatrick, everyone forgets about him. He started week 1 for the Washington football team. Will he land a job somewhere? Will he retire? I don't know. But again, Ryan Fitzpatrick has been on a million teams so far. Can he get yet another squad under his belt? And then Ben Roethlisberger likely to retire. Very small chance he comes back and plays on another team next season, like a Phillip Rivers type run, like Phil did in Indianapolis. Like Donovan McNabb did when he went to play for the Washington football team, the Redskins back then, or like Cutler when he came back the last second play for the Dolphins. I doubt Roethlisberger ends anywhere else next season, unless, say, Pittsburgh goes all the way, which this video is probably coming out after the TikTok Bowl, so I'm assuming the Steelers lost the Chiefs. If they won that game, who knows? Maybe Roethlisberger wins the Super Bowl and he goes to, the Houston Texans next season. Probably not, but I think Big Ben's done. So there are the unknowns. And here are the rookies. So personally, and this is my humble opinion, I really think there's only 2 starting quarterbacks in this draft class, at least right away. It's Matt Corral and it's Kenny Pickett. Those are the top 2 guys in the draft class. I think they can go 1 or 2 in terms of quarterbacks. Obviously, Kayvon Thibodeau and Aiden Hutchinson look like the 2 top guys in the draft. But I think the top 2 quarterbacks are Corral and Pickett. But now you've got Sam Howell from North Carolina, who I'm not sold on at all. I'm not sold on Malik Willis. I think Willis can be a good player, but he played it for Liberty, and Liberty didn't play the best teams this season. So there's that. He struggled, I believe, in the Army game, and I don't know. You got Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati. Ridder had a good season for the Bearcats this season, but will he go in the first round? Will he not? I don't know. And then you got Carson Strong, bunch of question marks around Strong as well. These are the top 6 guys coming out of college football. Again, I think it's just Corral and Pickett are the top 2 guys who should be starting this season or next season. Doesn't mean any other NFL team's not going to start one of the other 4. Obviously not. So these are the 6 rookies who really have a realistic start of starting somewhere next season, without an injury. So those are the top 6. So now we just go team by team. First off, the Miami Dolphins. I think Tua stays. I think he does. I think Tua did a serviceable job this season for the Miami Dolphins. Is he like the guy in Miami? Maybe, maybe not. I don't think Deshaun Watson's coming to town anymore, especially with the reports that Flores being out, obviously. He was the only guy who wanted Deshaun Watson in Miami, and if Flores is gone, Watson's not being traded to the Dolphins this season. So I think Tua's the guy there. The quarterback, Jacoby Brissett. Obviously, Brissett's not going to be taking Tua's job. The Dolphins have bigger problems than to take a quarterback in the draft. So I think Tua's going to be a guy in Miami. They had that, good end of the season. They did drop a game to, I believe it was the Titans at the end of the year when they were trying to make the playoff push. But still, Miami had a good end of the season. I think this is a team that can contend next season, at least to make the playoffs. Jalen Waddle did a really good job coming in the season for the Dolphins, and I think Tua should be the guy next season for them. So now we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think Big Ben's going to retire, and I think the replacement is Desmond Ridder. Again, we're just throwing darts at this point. Like, you don't know who's going to be drafted where. But when I did my draft class, and I'm not going to give anything away right here. I mean, if you know the draft order, then you might figure it out. But I had Corral going first in the draft. Then I had Kenny Pickett going second, out of the quarterbacks, obviously. So I had Corral, Pickett, and then that's where it gets tricky because then you've got, of course, Ridder, you've got Willis, you've got Howell, and then you got Strong. I don't think Carson Strong's going to start anywhere next season, so I didn't put Strong in this half of the video. I think Ridder goes to the Steelers. I think he does. I think he's going to be the 4th quarterback picked, and I think this is going to be his spot here in Pittsburgh, and it's going to be a shot for him to start. The other quarterbacks on this Pittsburgh team right now, you have got Rudolph, you've got Dwayne Haskins. Haskins will not be a starter in the NFL next season, so that's why I think they bring in Ridder, and I think they're going to get a guy like Gardner Minshew, who's, can come into Pittsburgh, be a serviceable guy. I think Minshew's still a very good quarterback, and I could definitely see the Steelers starting Minshew to start the season next year, and they'll have Ridder, to learn under him and maybe take over towards the end of the year, depending on how it's going. But I think this is what Pittsburgh's going to do. Again, you never know who they're going to draft. I have them projected right now to take Desmond Ridder late in the first round. I think they're going to add on Gardner Minshew as well. Now we've got the Cleveland Browns. I think it's going to be Baker Mayfield. Like, did Mayfield have a good 2021? He didn't. He had a bad year. But they're going to give him another shot. I don't think they're going to move on just yet. They're going to give Baker a shot, fully healthy next season, and it's going to be make or break for Baker Mayfield. Because if Mayfield has a bad season with the Browns next season, he will definitely be out in Cleveland. At least I think so. And it's not like Mayfield's going to be out of a starting job if he doesn't do well in Cleveland next year. He'll pick up a starting job in 2 years. But I think this is make or break for him. He will be the guy in Cleveland next season, though, for the Browns. The Browns aren't going to take a quarterback in the first round. You look at the veterans, you look at the guys hitting free agency. Is Sam Darnold better than Baker Mayfield right now? I don't think so. Is Ryan Fitzpatrick better than Baker Mayfield? No. Teddy Bridgewater? Maybe, but nah. I think they're going to go with Mayfield next season. Make or break, but Baker will be the guy in Cleveland. So 100% I could see Wentz getting the boot here from Indianapolis, just considering, again, the ending of the season. They did not make the playoffs. Everyone's pissed in Indianapolis. So I could definitely see Wentz leaving. I just don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to give Wentz another season here in Indy. Like a replacement, I could see like Jimmy Garoppolo coming in here and taking over the job. That's not what we have projected here, but for now I'm saying Wentz stays. He was just so meh this year. I mean, he did limit the turnovers towards the second half of the season. Of course, they went to Jacksonville and it all fell apart. If they won that game in Jacksonville, though, just the perception on Carson Wentz changes so much. Not like as positive as you think, but it's just not as negative as what it is now. Anyways, I think Wentz stays. He's going to be in the hot seat in 2022, but I think Carson Wentz will be the guy in Indianapolis. He's going to have to find a way to get the ball to Michael Pittman. That man is a generational talent. I'm telling you, Jonathan Taylor is obviously one of the best running backs in the NFL. He's got the weapons. Can they put it all together, though? Time will only tell. So here's the Houston Texans. Davis Mills is the starter of this team. They have Tyrod Taylor on the squad as well, but obviously the Texans are not interested in starting Tyrod Taylor anymore, so Davis Mills is the guy. I put Sam Darnold as one of the quarterbacks next season for the Houston Texans. There's a reason this, and you'll see it in a little bit, but I think Davis Mills will be the starter. Like, I think Houston would probably start Mills over Darnold. Davis Mills wasn't horrible this year. He really wasn't. I mean, just considering the weapons he had, which were non-existent, like, besides Brandon Cooks, the Texans couldn't run the football this year, even though they re-signed Rex Burkhead. They just couldn't do anything. And Davis Mills came in half of the year, and he wasn't all that bad, even though he started the season really bad. But, I think Mills is going to stay. He did enough to the point where the Texans do not have to take a quarterback next year. They can take, some other position. I think Mills will be the starter, and I think Sam Darnold will probably be the backup. Maybe give Mills a run for his money, but I think Davis Mills will be the starter next season for the Houston Texans. Next up, the Denver Broncos. I think they're the first team to take a quarterback in the draft. I think it's going to be Matt Corral. I think he will be. Personally, would I take Corral first? No, I'd take Kenny Pickett. Especially with Corral getting injured in the Sugar Bowl. But still, I think that's where the Broncos will go. I think they'll take Corral in the first. I think Bridgewater's out. I don't know where Bridgewater goes, because I'll just keep it a buck with you. I don't have Bridgewater as a backup, or like, the graphics I made, I don't have Bridgewater anywhere else. I just don't know where he would land. He's going to be a free agent. Maybe he's the backup in Denver, but with the Broncos having Drew Lock, who's fairly young still, they're probably not going to re-sign Bridgewater because they still have Lock under contract. So I don't know where Teddy lands. I really don't know where he goes. So, there's that. But I think Matt Corral is going to be the guy next season in Denver. It's either going to be him or Pickett. I just don't see the Broncos, taking a veteran on. It just wouldn't make too much sense for them to take a veteran, considering they're not in a position to win right now. So they got to take a quarterback round one. It's their biggest, gap in this team. Drew Lock's obviously not the guy in Denver. They've tried that. It hasn't worked just yet. They had Joe Flacco a couple years ago. I think Matt Corral should be the guy for them. He's very good arm talent is Corral. Very good accuracy out of him from Ole Miss. I think Corral will be the starter next season for the Denver Broncos. And if you're wondering where Kenny Pickett ended up, it will be here. It will be in Washington. I think this is where Pickett goes. Washington takes or picks after the Broncos this season. And I don't know where Taylor Heineke goes. Kind of the same situation as Bridgewater. I know Heineke's on a 2-year deal, so he'll probably stay in Washington. He will be the backup, and he'll probably find a way to get the starting job by the end of the season. Who knows? But I think Pickett will be the guy in Washington. I'm very high on Kenny Pickett. I think he's the best quarterback right now coming into the draft class. Very good arm. He can run, as you saw in the ACC championship game against Wake Forest. The man had a very good season for Pittsburgh this year, coming out of nowhere. He won't end up on the Steelers, which I think would be cool, but I think he'll be in Washington. Washington's got some weapons, man. I mean, they are a team. If Kenny Pickett can come in there, I don't want to put the pressure on this guy, but have a Joe Burrow or a Justin Herbert or Patrick Mahomes type effect on this Washington football team, or the Commanders, whatever they're going to be next season. It can be huge. They have the weapons on this team. Terry McLaurin's a tremendous receiver. Antonio Gibson's a very good running back. They've got, of course, Logan Thomas and Ricky Seals-Jones at tight end. They've got their guys. They just got to put it all together. And if Kenny Pickett can be the gel in this team, Washington can be a dominant force in the NFC East. I think that's where they're going to go. Obviously, if Pickett heads first, and we're likely thinking of first quarterback is going to go to the Broncos. If he goes there, sure, they're going to take Corral, but I think Kenny Pickett will end up with the Washington Commanders, football team, Redskins, whatever they're going to be. And the Giants, this team's a mess. And will they blow it all up? I think there's a very good chance they will. I think Daniel Jones is going to stay. I think they have bigger problems than Daniel Jones. He got hurt at the end of the year. They shut him down. I just think there's bigger problems on this Giants team. And if Jones just doesn't do well this season or this upcoming season, then they can look to pick a quarterback in the year after. But I think Jones is going to stay. And it kind of feels like a Ryan Fitzpatrick fill-in, doesn't it? Right? If Fitzpatrick isn't going to retire, it feels like he could end up somewhere in New York, and I guarantee it, if they did a quarterback competition between Jones and Ryan Fitzpatrick, Fitz is going to find a way to get the job, and he's going to get it in week one, and the Giants will win 3 games, and they'll fall completely off a cliff to start the season. But I think that's where Fitzpatrick could go. Maybe he'll look like a guy like Teddy Bridgewater coming here. If Heineke maybe gets traded, they wouldn't trade him within the division. But yeah, that's where I got Jones and Fitzpatrick. The Giants are a mess. They're not going to be good next season. You know it. The American people know it. I mean, come on. We got the Giants though keeping Daniel Jones. No hope for this damn squad. They said they would keep Daniel Jones, but they also said they were going to keep Joe Judge. I don't know. We've got Jones staying though. So Kirk Cousins is still under contract for the Minnesota Vikings in 2022, so I don't think the Vikings are going to move on just yet. I think they would like to. They have Kellen Mond there, but again, as Mike Zimmer said, who obviously is not the coach of the Vikings anymore, Zimmer once said, one reporter asked him, "Are you excited to see Kellen Mond out there?" "No, I see him every single day." Okay, sure. But I think Cousins is going to have to stay in Minnesota next season. Yeah, I don't think they can get off that contract just yet. And I think they're definitely, thinking about getting rid of him, obviously. But again, it's the contract. He's making, $32 million next season? Zimmer's gone, which is cool, but Cousins is going to stay. It's going to be Cousins' last real shot to prove that he is the guy in Minnesota. Will he prove it? Who knows? But for now, I think Kirk Cousins has got to stay in Minnesota. It's not like they're going to take a quarterback late in the draft because they have Kellen Mond just kind of waiting there, who was likely not going to take over after. I don't know. The Vikings are a mess like they've been for the last, 10 years? No, honestly, 60 years. Who am I talking about? Yeah, they're going to keep Cousins, though. So the Detroit Lions, they're stuck with Goff, but I think they can pick quarterback late in the first round. They have multiple first-round picks. Maybe they take Howell at the last one. Maybe they look to get him in the second. I'm not sold on Sam Howell. I'm just not sold on the man. I think I would rather have Willis. I would rather have Corral. I'd rather have Pickett. Don't know about Carson Strong, but I'm just not sold on Howell just yet. I think that's where he could go, though, would be the Lions, and it would be a good opportunity for him. Well, actually, no, because you're going to the Lions. But considering Jared Goff's starting quarterback, and I don't think Goff's all that bad. I don't think Goff is as bad as people think he is. I think the Lions have something going. I mean, you got, MCDC, Motor City Dan Campbell is there in Detroit. You got DeAndre Swift. If they can get him back fully healthy, he could be a problem. Amon-Ra St. Brown was like the lone bright spot for that Lions team last season. That man is going to be a problem in the NFL next year. If they can get it going, this Lions team can be okay. The defense was like all right at the end of the year. And I think Jared Goff is their guy. I think they might take Howell. I'm not confident in this one at all, but for now, I think they might take Howell late in the first, maybe in the second. He could be behind Jared Goff, but like if Howell gets picked in Detroit, it might be one of the situations where they pick him, but he never really plays, like ever. So I don't know. We're gonna say they take Howell, but I think Goff will be the guy next season for the Lions for sure. Kind of feels like a no-brainer. Like yeah, Aaron Rodgers is staying in Green Bay next season. I think. Like I know they marketed the whole last dance thing in the offseason, and he came reported to camp late. I don't think Rodgers leaves. The only place where I can see Aaron Rodgers going is Pittsburgh. Like, I don't think he'll go to Denver just because Denver doesn't make sense for him. It would be Pittsburgh for Aaron Rodgers. But right now, Aaron Rodgers is going to win the MVP. Do I agree with that? No, I think Tom Brady should win the MVP. But you saw the All-Pro voting. Aaron Rodgers will be the MVP of the league for the second straight season. Is Green Bay really going to let him go, or is Rodgers really going to leave that situation in Green Bay? I don't think he will, but maybe he would. I don't know. I think it all depends on this playoff run. And I see, I've heard various things. It's like, okay, if the Packers win the entire thing, maybe he stays. Maybe if they lose in the Super, or if he wins the Super Bowl, maybe he stays. If they win it, maybe he'll leave because he wants to prove that he could win somewhere else. Yeah, I've heard if they lose in the championship game again, maybe he'll stay. I think the most likely way Rodgers leaves Green Bay is if they lose at home in the NFC Championship game again. Especially the Buccaneers. If that happens, I think Rodgers is gone. I don't know. In my playoff predictions video, I kind of predicted that they were going to lose to Tampa Bay in the championship game. I'll be honest with you, I'm not confident in Tampa Bay at all. And, I'm recording this about 9 hours before the Eagles game. I'm not confident in Tampa Bay to beat the Eagles. I'm not. Like, that game could go 50-50 for me with the high win and everything, the potential rain. But that's besides the point. It just all depends on the Packers' playoff run. For now, though, I'm taking Rodgers to stay in Green Bay. It would make sense. It all depends on really what happens with Pittsburgh. Because obviously we projected with the Steelers, I have them taking Ritter and then they get Minshew. Who knows? The big question mark is Jordan Love. Like eventually they gotta move on to Jordan Love. Maybe they don't. Maybe Jordan Love's just like Josh Rosen. If Josh Rosen never got shot in the league, so maybe they will ship off Love. Who knows? But I think Rodgers is gonna stay in Green Bay. So Malik Willis in New Orleans? Yeah, I don't know. I think because again, that's how I had it projected. So I have Corral going 1, obviously, the Broncos in the draft. Or just through quarterbacks only. I've got Pickett going to Washington, so he's second. And then I got Willis going 3. Maybe that's just my personal opinion on how I have the quarterback, because maybe Sam Howell does go 3rd, but I think Malik Willis is a whole hell lot better than Sam Howell is. So then if you just look down my board, and I think Willis is better than Ritter, and I think a lot of people think Malik Willis will go higher than Desmond Ritter in the draft. The third team to take a quarterback should be the New Orleans Saints, right? Taysom Hill's not going to be the guy next season for them. Trevor Siemian obviously is not going to be the guy. And who knows what's going to happen with Jameis Winston. I don't think Winston is going to be ready for the start next season. So I think Malik Willis is the replacement. Willis is solid, man. He can run, he can throw. He's a dual threat quarterback. He's like Taysom Hill, but just a little bit better, and he can't play tight end. So I think Malik Willis will end up in New Orleans. It's a weird fit, it feels like, but I think he should be the guy. And the big question mark is Jameis Winston. But I think New Orleans, no matter what, was planning on taking quarterback this season. Maybe they go receiver. Maybe they do. But I think they're going to end up with Malik Willis if they don't take a receiver, which actually thinking about it now, they probably should take a receiver. Treylon Burks, Jameson Williams, I don't know. But I got Willis going to New Orleans. If not, it'll just be Jameis Winston. And I told you earlier, Darnold going to the Texans was going to make sense, and here it is, because I think the Panthers are going to end up with Deshaun Watson. I'm looking at every single team in the league. Who are the only teams that would actually trade for Deshaun Watson? I think 2. I think the Dolphins are out. I think it's the Panthers or the Steelers. And to avoid the jokes and to avoid the memes, I don't think Pittsburgh would replace Ben Roethlisberger with Deshaun Watson. I don't think they would. Maybe they wouldn't. I would have a fun laugh at it, but I think Deshaun will end up in Carolina, and I think Sam Darnold has to be, involved in that trade with Deshaun going to Carolina, just, with cap room and all of that. Obviously, Houston's going to get a hell of a whole lot of picks from the Carolina Panthers. I doubt they'll get Christian McCaffrey, even though it feels like Carolina's somewhat willing to get rid of McCaffrey now, apparently. But Deshaun Watson, I think, will be the starter in Carolina next season. Cam Newton will probably be the backup, or maybe he just doesn't play next season, or hell, maybe he goes to the USFL. I'm excited about the USFL for no reason. Let's go New York, New Jersey Generals. But I think Darnold will end up in Houston because of the Deshaun Watson trade. And Watson to Carolina makes sense. Like, they had trouble at the quarterback position the entire season. You saw like their games at the end of the year where they, we're going to play Darnold some, we're going to play Newton some, and we're going to sprinkle in a little bit of PJ Walker. Come on, they need a starting quarterback. If they don't get Deshaun, though, they'll be looking at a quarterback in the draft, and that'll change a whole hell lot of things. But I think this is where Deshaun has to land. If he doesn't land here, it's probably Pittsburgh, and then other than that, I don't know where else he would land. Really, though, like, think about it. Like, maybe Washington, but I think this has got to be the spot for him. So we are going to go Deshaun Watson heading to the Carolina Panthers. Falcons, Matt Ryan still, I think. Yeah, Ryan's not done. At least I don't think he is. I think next year will be Matt Ryan's last season in the NFL, so that's why I think the Falcons will take some backup, and they'll probably look at Mitchell Trubisky. Mitch has got to end up somewhere next season, and I don't think Mitchell Trubisky is all that bad, considering you're looking at the struggles the Bears are having at quarterback this season with Andy Dalton, with Justin Fields. Nick Foles actually did all right in his one start, and Dalton actually did okay too, but you saw the problems that the Chicago Bears did have. And when you compare that to what Mitchell Trubisky did in Chicago, hell, Trubisky led them to the damn playoffs last season, and he's the MVP. So I think Trubisky is, him and Minshew should be in that conversation where those two should be the next up as the current backups to be a starter in the NFL next season. However, I don't think he will be the guy next season in Atlanta because I think it will still be Matt Ryan. I think it'll be Matt Ryan's official last season in the NFL. The Falcons will probably go 7-10, and that'll be Ryan's last ride. But I think Trubisky has put himself in a prime position to be a guy, to be another starting quarterback in the NFL in a couple of years. And I think if he signs up with the Atlanta Falcons, it would make a hell of a lot more sense than him staying in Buffalo, backing up Josh Allen. Like, I get it. He wants to be in Buffalo. Maybe he'll win a ring this season. I doubt the Bills are winning a Super Bowl. But again, for Trubisky, he's got to put himself in an opportunity into a situation where he's with an aging quarterback where he can at least be a contender to take over for the starting job after that old vet does retire. And it seems like Atlanta could be a spot for him. So I'm going to say Trubisky to the Falcons, but for next season, it should still be Matt Ryan. And I think this, alongside the Aaron Rodgers prediction, seems pretty, fair. I think Russell Wilson will end up in Seattle next season again. I don't think he's done there, and I think next year could be an exciting year for Russell Wilson with the Seahawks, but at least for next season, I think Russ stays. Look at the options the Seahawks could have. I mean, it's not going to be Geno Smith, and I think he just got arrested. I think that's what happened to Geno Smith. The Seahawks have a million problems, and one of them is not quarterback. It's not. They have so many problems with that O-line. The receiving core is just I mean, their defense struggled all season long. The Seahawks have many problems, but Russell Wilson's not one of them. They have to figure out a way to put a team around Russell Wilson next season to convince him to stay. If they can't, Russell will be gone. He'll finish his career somewhere else. But for next season, kind of like Matt Ryan, I think Russ is, on the edge where he maybe could leave in a couple years, but next season, I don't see him moving elsewhere. I think Russell Wilson will remain a member of the Seattle Seahawks. He'll be the guy next season in the Pacific Northwest. So the 49ers, playoff team. This video is probably going out after the Cowboys game. I predict the Niners to win. Maybe they will, maybe they don't. Who knows? I think they keep the same exact thing next season. I think they do. I think they keep Garoppolo next year, and I think Trey Lance is still there as well. I think probably Lance will be the starter next season, but who knows? Maybe Garoppolo wins it again, and you got this same weird situation. I mentioned it earlier, I think an okay spot for Garoppolo would be Indianapolis, but when you look at the contracts involved, I don't think that's going to happen. So I think Jimmy G's going to stay in San Francisco another season. They kind of got stuck with him when they gave him all that money. They said no to Tom Brady because they wanted this guy, so damn, have some trust in him, I guess. I think Jimmy G stays. I think it'll be an open competition between him and Trey Lance. Maybe Garoppolo wins it, maybe Lance wins it. Personally, I'm not sold on Trey Lance so far. I'm just not. If I had to rank the quarterbacks coming out the last draft class, it would go like this. I think Mac Jones is number one, even though the end of the season was terrible for Jones. I still think he's the best quarterback right now, at least in the draft. I think Zach Wilson's too. I like Zach Wilson, and I think I think he's got really like superstar potential in the NFL. Broadway Zach is going to be a machine next year. I think 3, Davis Mills, I think. I'll go Lawrence 4. And again, Lawrence had no favors being in Jacksonville this season, but I'll go Lawrence 4. I'm going to go Justin Fields 5. I'll go Trey Lance 6 just because I haven't seen Trey Lance that much. He hasn't, didn't get a full slate of games to play as a starting quarterback. So I think Lance right now is just 6 just because the unknowns out of him. But next season, I think it'll be the same exact thing. I think they trade between Garoppolo and Lance. They'll go back and forth, and the Niners will probably be in this, same wild card position again next season. So That'll do it, folks, for our quarterback carousel predictions for the 2022 NFL season. Again, a lot could change. Who knows what's going to happen? Again, a lot could change with the wildcard round, and I'm just doing this in the middle of the wildcard round, so who knows? But for now, these are what we have for each NFL team next season. If you disagree with any of my predictions, make sure to let me know in the comment section down below. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. If you want to see more of this type of content, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Leave a comment too if you did enjoy. Thank you for watching, and Mamba forever.